forward. Okay, so let's start with our webinar. To start, Santos, the president of THEMS International, to give us the basics of online learning.
Good morning, everybody. I've never seen a cluster of where the regulatory body, which is the Legal Education Board, the Association of the Schools, which is the PALS, and the Association of Students are working hand in hand. I wish we had that on our part on the business education side. The way everybody is working together to get through the pandemic is so inspiring, and actually it should be a model for other aspects of the education clusters. So I'm Joel Santos. I'm the president, co-founder of THEMS International Business School, and it's really an honor to be here. This is the biggest Zoom webinar I've ever attended, because most Zoom webinars maximum is about 500. This is like more than 1,000. And it's actually exciting to do this for the first time. So congratulations to the LEB, PALS, and the Association of Law School Students for this. So I'm just going to give an intro of what online learning is. So let me share my screen. So let me provide you an introduction of what online learning is and what to expect, since now you as law students will be going into this mode of learning. So let's look at the trends in education. The learners today are millennials and Gen Z. That is you. And what are you like? You were born digital. Most of you, I always joke, already you have your cell phone as part of your umbilical cord. So technology is a way of life. It is not a tool. Everything you do is technology driven or technology enabled. Second, because you're so used to everything instant, you have actually a shorter attention span. You can actually do multitasking. My daughter, who's Gen Z, can do her homework, watch Netflix, and then text her friends at the same time. So, and when you want to order anything, it's at the flick of a finger, right? So everything is instant. That's why your short attention span is there. Also, nonlinear thinking, that is part of your multitasking. As I mentioned, you can do 3 or 4 tasks together, and they can all work at the same time. That's what's so amazing about millennials and Gen Z. And the other thing is that passion drives you. You know, to do anything, you cannot be forced. You have to want it. And law school students have. I'm definitely sure that you are passionate about law, because the sacrifices and the time needed to finish law school has to come from somewhere, and that is coming from your love and passion for law. Entrepreneurial. The millennials and Gen Z now, madiskarte. Diba? It doesn't mean they're starting a business, but then they have the entrepreneurial mindset of being madiskarte. They never give up. They're risk takers. They look for opportunities. And I think that is very much being seen in the law students today. Finally, you are the most globally connected generation. You know what is happening into the world. Your friends are from all over the world. You are connected to all of your relatives. As you know, well, no, Filipinos are all over the world, and now you are connected to them. So this allows you this dimension to see everything, not just from a Philippine perspective, but from a global perspective. So there's a current challenge and problem. What is that? If you look at the pictures, this is the classroom from the 18th century to the wartime, World War II time, 1940s, to the 80s. I know you guys love 80s music. That's the in thing now. I'm an 80s guy. And today, the classroom and the professors through the times have remained the same, while you as a learner have actually evolved to a different person. So the college and the master's program are still taught the same way. And this one-dimensional system does not always fit the millennials and the Gen Z. So if you were told that the only way to buy food is to take your car, go to a restaurant and take out, you wouldn't believe that. The way you do that now is through a mobile app. But the classroom and the way we teach has been the same since the 18th century. But education as we know it is now being disrupted. The first disruption is really technology. There's so many technological options, they call that now edutech, that provide different learning facilities and tools. But if there's any disruption that has fast-tracked everything, it is the coronavirus. Because of this pandemic, education is fast-tracking their digital transformation. And I know that you hate being in this situation now, but believe me, the digital transformation that is being fast-tracked is something that you will enjoy and benefit from because you are millennials and Gen Z. You are digital natives. The way education is being forced to transform is something that a Gen Z and a millennial prefers. We are not alone. Harvard Law School started online classes in March. So it is a global disruption. Harvard Law School was also not online. Other parts, as I said, other parts of education have moved online, particularly business, but the law schools have stayed the traditional way, and for many reasons, and many good reasons. But then, because of the pandemic, everybody had to start. And as I said, hindi tayo nag-iisa. Hindi tayo nahuhuli sa pandemic. Marami tayong kababayan na
Okay, so I think we are experiencing some technical problems. It was not just you, yes. Everybody experienced it. So I think it was from the end of Mr. Santos. Okay, uh, can we wait for him to come back? He was in the middle of a very interesting presentation on the current students now, Gen Y and Z. Yes, but sure, we'll wait for him. Let's check him out if he can still come back, or we can proceed to our special guest speaker for today. Yes, of course, it's worth waiting. There he goes. You're on mute, Joel? Yes.
I was cut. Oh my. As you can see, this is the challenges of online learning in the Philippine setting. So let me go back. What slide did I miss, Sheila?
That one. Yeah, that's the last one.
Okay, so as I said, Harvard only started in March. So hindi tayo nahuhuli. Kasama natin ang ibang mga law school sa buong mundo. Sama-sama tayong mag-online learning. And both the teachers and the students are adjusting to that. One law school professor said he cannot now see his students. So he doesn't know if they're bored or they're smiling. So he cannot feel their presence. Another professor naman said, it has created a new intimacy. Why? Because not everybody in the law school everybody's passionate, but not everybody is very verbal. Iba-iba yung ating learning style. So suddenly, those who are quiet can now engage directly. Hindi na sila na overshadow ng mga malalakas na dating as we know it, right? So, kumbaga na-equalize. And so everybody can communicate directly because it is some people are really better at at online communication. Alam natin, iba sa inyo, nagliligawan, di ba? Kahit You can date during an app. You don't even have to see each other. But so this has allowed also a way for everybody to communicate. Now, ano ba talaga ang definition ng online education? Well, online education is a flexible instructional delivery system. So the keyword is flexible. And it has to take place in the internet. Now, online learning gives your educators the opportunity to reach students who may not be able to enroll in a traditional classroom course. Now, we know that. This is really the only way to access your lecturer. And more than that, this online education supports students on their own schedule and their own pace. So, given the situation, online education seems to be the best option for us. So let me just show the difference. When you're face to face, you see you are in the presence, physical presence of your teacher and your classmates. As you move to the right, technology plays a key role, and that's when it becomes what you call blended. So technology enhances the classroom. It becomes hybrid, which is less face-to-face, more online, all the way to a fully distance or online class, which is actually what we are doing now. That we are not, hybrid means sometimes we're online, sometimes we're face-to-face. But given the pandemic, everybody's moving all the way to the right, which is fully online. So as you move from left to right, you move from fixed, like fixed schedule, fixed place, fixed structure, to a more flexible setup, which is online. So there is your face-to-face, which is live now, and then you have your self-paced, which are what you call asynchronous classes. And you can do this thing anywhere you like. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, that anywhere means your home. So just to give you a few examples, STEMS has been doing online and blended learning for the past 2 years. We're one of the pioneers because we have been engaging with millennials and Gen Z students. So this is our students. So magkikita pa rin kayo ng mga kaklase nyo through whatever streaming technology you have. We also use Zoom. So in this setup, you can see everybody. So magkakasama pa rin kayo, but then in a different setup. All of your schools will be using a learning management system. We use FreeJu from Singapore, and the learning management system is where all of your learning materials, all of the videos, and all of your activities will be deposited. So it's like a central depository of all of your learning materials. Each school will have a different learning management system, but that now becomes what you call the hub of all of your learning. What will you expect? As a student, we did an action research nationwide of what online learning would be for first timers. So we chose senior high school because they're in the middle of college and high school. But the findings come out the same, including with them. So we did that together with Globe. So this research was done for first timers who have never done online learning. STEM teachers were the ones who taught that because they're veterans in online learning. And this is what we found out. After a simulation of 2 weeks of 100% online learning, 64% feel that this is the only way to go. Okay, it's not 100%, but at least majority feel this is the only way to continue my education during the pandemic. What worked for students was content has to be visual, clear, and accessible. That's what you like. You actually prefer videos. You enjoy the fact that you're collaborating with your fellow classmates kasi hindi nyo sila nakikita. Ito na ngayon ang opportunity nyo mag-socialize. You like combining both the live and the self-paced session. And what you realize is you can adapt. Kasi Gen Z kayo, millennials kayo. If they need a different scheduling and study habits, kaya nyo ang gawin. Ito ang issue nyo. You still prefer to see your friends face-to-face and see your teachers. But we can't do anything about that now. Yung weak internet, like me losing my connection, makes classes frustrating sometimes. Tapos meron kayong magiging malaking adjustment between your professor and your role as a student kasi now we're in a virtual classroom. So you have to be prepared to change your role. Particularly, you guys have to learn as students netiquette or internet etiquette. Sometimes when we were teaching online, biglaan lang kayo nawawala. Napaka-frustrating yan para sa teacher. But in a face-to-face, maghihingi pa kayo ng permission. And sometimes, your background noise is so high kasi hindi kayo nag-mute. So you also have to start learning how to behave as students in an online environment. And somehow, you still feel isolated. But in the end, majority of you feel that's the only way to go. You will be requesting most likely from your schools, give us more visual and clear and accessible and more videos. You will most likely ask your schools to limit the live sessions kasi nakaka-stress kung laging face-to live session. There has to be what you call self-paced. And you will most likely request na pwede bang i-limit to 1 hour lang. Kasi nakaka-drain lang being on the screen all the time. And you will most likely ask na ituloy ang social activities because you want to be together with your friends, fellow law students. At home, you will most likely, based on the survey, ask for your parents to help you find a quiet place to study kasi 75% of the home environment does not provide a quiet place or private place for students. Connectivity. And ito pa, less sharing of computers. Yung parents nyo nag-work from home, kayo rin nagsa-study at home, so you will have to manage sharing the computers. But I want to show this video. It is not only about tech. And this video kind of tells you what your online learning will all be about.
No audio.
Sorry, there's no audio. Okay, never mind. So anyway, that in the video, what we wanted to show there was that a lot of it is really coming together as classes, as students, right? So it is coming together as students. You have to support each other. And one of the things that we do in TEMS is that all the students support each other through this online journey. So it's not about the tech, it's still about you and the students. So here, together with the Legal Education Board, the Philippine Association of Law Schools, and the Association of Law School Students, we hope to be with you in your online learning. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Joel Santos of TEMS International. I saw the students giving us some advice on how to make our audio come out in the presentation. And I
wasn't able to practice it.
Yeah, because you're, I think, Gen X. so that's it. We learn from each other. You teach us the tech and we'll teach you the discipline content. Okay, so let's now move on to our special guest speaker, who is the head of the psychology department of the Singapore University of the Social Sciences. Ladies and gentlemen, let's all welcome Dr. Emily Ortega. Yes.
Hello, everyone. Hi, good morning. Thank you very much for having me. It's an honor to be here, to be able to share with all of you on certain things that we've been doing in Singapore. So I think I'd like to extend on what Joel has just mentioned and go a little bit more into what you can do as a student in terms of your learning. So let me just share my screen here. Yeah, we can all see the screen, yeah? So I was told to talk about the social dimensions of a virtual law school, as well as your law students' mindsets on online learning. As mentioned, I'm the head of the psychology program here in Singapore. And in case you're wondering, sounds like I have a bit of a Filipino surname. You're absolutely right. My great-grandfather actually came to to Singapore a long time ago. One of the first few batches of immigrants from the Philippines. He came from Batangas and he came to Singapore to actually start playing music. So he's a musician. Yeah, so I'm not a musician, unfortunately. The musician genes ended the generation before me, sadly. Okay, let me just go straight into what I'm going to be talking today. So I'm going to introduce a little bit more about myself as well as how we've been using online learning in Singapore. I'm going to tap a little bit more on what Joel has mentioned in his earlier talk. This was not planned, but we still managed to synchronize ourselves so nicely. Why it's important to learn online, how you as a student can prepare to learn online, understanding the differences between, I think Joel mentioned this earlier, synchronous as well as asynchronous learning. And at the same time, also as a psychologist by training, also giving you some strategies on how, as a student, you can optimize your online learning. So let's start off with a little bit of an introduction of myself first. I was mentioning that we've actually been doing a lot of online learning here in Singapore already. So over at my university, at the Singapore University of Social Sciences, we've been rather blessed because we've actually got onto this online platform and this online bandwagon a long time ago. And I actually when I started teaching in this university, we were already putting all our resources online, and we were using this flipped classroom format in teaching the way that we do. We still have face-to-face lessons before, but we started also having more online sessions as well. And just like all of you, with the current pandemic, we've also been forced to actually take all our classes online. So we've actually gone one step further now to be able to do all our classes virtually over Zoom. And in all truth, as an instructor, my first reaction as well was, oh no, is this really going to work? How am I going to get that same level of classroom engagement as I would have in a normal face-to-face classroom? But when the whole of the last semester, we actually brought our classes online, and I'm actually very pleased to share with you that we managed to engage our students probably even more than how I would be able to engage them in a daily classroom, the usual classroom format, which I think is really very interesting. And I think part of the successes to that really is, if you look at the following screen, you will see that this is a snapshot of our LMS, our learning management system that we use in Singapore. So we organize a lot of our materials online very clearly, very structured. Seminar 1, what we're going to be covering. Here are your slides. Here's what you need to watch for Seminar 2, for Seminar 3. So of course, then on top of that, we have our Zoom sessions, and I really enjoy doing this whole sharing screen, getting people to type and share the whiteboards and stuff like that, where people can, or even through the chat box, like I'm watching what everyone's typing in the chat box, so that I can better understand the profile of the students. And just being able to see students, I think one of the initial challenges we had was that a lot of the students were not very keen in turning on their videos. So they'll come for class, but they'll leave their videos off. And I would spend the first lesson encouraging them to turn on their videos. And eventually it got so much better that everyone automatically turns on their videos. And it feels like class, and maybe even better, like a newer version of class. Right. So we've been doing this for a long time here in Singapore. And with the only new thing, of course, will be classes over Zoom. And that was the initial challenge. So the initial setback was, can I do this? What I've learned is that when we are teaching online, it is really important to keep things a lot simpler, but not compromising on engaging students, getting them involved and as participative in activities as much as possible. Yeah. So it has been very successful for us here in Singapore. And now when we're actually taking all our classes online, students and lecturers alike are all very excited that it is still online. And of course, it is a lot safer for everyone given this current pandemic, right? So why do we learn online? Well, firstly, the good thing about it is the flexibility, because everything is arranged very nicely in your learning management system. All the materials are there, and you can, kind of like study really at your own pace. And I've noticed from the chat box that there are a number of you who are actually working and studying, which is similar to the profile of the students that we have here in Singapore at SUSS. So that ability to be able to juggle life with studying becomes a lot easier because everything's kind of like close, put online, organized very nicely for you online. So you can really juggle your work, especially together with studying at the same time. So online learning gives you that flexibility. And of course, the convenience, because you can access it anywhere and everywhere, right? And I think also very importantly, especially in a big country like the Philippines, you're not bound by location. And if you know, when you have to travel from one place to another, you can study anywhere, even when you're stuck in Manila traffic, right? I think that's the best part. I think another thing that pleasantly surprised me as a lecturer was that I was mentioning to you that I found that my students were a lot more engaged during an online class. And why that happened was really because I asked them, how come you're a lot more engaged, you're willing to ask more questions? And they actually told me that they don't feel so scared to speak up on an online platform. So I guess this kind of like ties back a little bit to what Joel was saying earlier, that all of you are born techies, right? With your handphones always attached to your hands, right? So you're not intimidated by this online environment, and you're a lot more willing to ask questions. And when that happens, there's a lot of better, high quality interaction that happens between students and professors online. So you can actually ask a lot more questions. You don't feel ashamed. You don't feel like you can't ask a question because other people will judge you. Somehow all that disappears in an online environment. And I think that's what really lends to the wonders of a virtual classroom. And of course, the final point of why we should learn online is really because we need to be able to be prepared for the changing landscape of the way that we work and the changing workforce. As we can see, even it's not just studying, right? That students that are being affected, also people who are working. We're all forced to work from home now. And if you're used to studying online, you're going to be able to adapt a lot quicker to working from home as well and working online, right? So it's an excellent skill to have. And in terms of, so that's just my own anecdotal evidence, right? But do I have any research evidence to back my claims? So as a psychologist, that's always what I will always look for, right? What does the evidence say? If you look at like recent findings, even way before this pandemic, the researchers have actually found that students really enjoy online learning because it is clearly organized, it is coherently organized on your learning management system. And when you have all that information organized for you, it leads to self-regulated learning. And as a lecturer in a university, that's the most important thing for me, to be able to make sure that my students are engaged in self-regulated learning, that they know what they need to do and they don't need to ask questions or look for kind of spoon feeding or rote learning kind of techniques, right? So they take the learning into their own hands. So with learning online, this can actually happen. Another point is that they also found that students actually prefer to study online, and when they do that, they have greater confidence in their ability to learn. So isn't that better? I think a lot of times when we're in a face-to-face environment, half the time either we're asleep or we don't know what's going on, or we're distracted by our own classmates. And that we forget about this importance of being confident in learning. And online learning helps to remind us that if you enjoy this online learning mode, you probably have greater confidence to learn. And that just really summarizes everything, that really online learning is the way to go. It is right now, it might seem like it's the only way to go, but we need to understand that it is truly the better way to learn, especially for the younger generation like yourself. And I think one of the first ways that we need to do it is something that, even like, for example, even for myself, that I had to check, right? When I was told that, oh, I have to bring all my classes online. The initial thought is, you go with a fixed mindset, but the classroom setting works. I can engage my students. I love this face-to-face interaction. But then you start to think about, okay, can I actually do this? Right? So it's the same for students as well, right? So instead of having a fixed mindset that, oh no, online learning is not good, it's not going to be successful at all, we should have more of a growth mindset and think about how, hey, maybe I can try this online learning, since everyone's saying such good stuff about it. Even the Harvard Law School is doing it, so it can't be that it's the wrong thing to do, right? And given the current situation, it is the safest, most secure way for you to continue learning, for you to continue with your education while you are doing everything else in life. And it's the best way to make life go on, really. So having a growth mindset to think that I can try online learning, it is the best way of learning right now, I'm willing to give it a shot. So I think my challenge to all of you out there is to make sure that you have a growth mindset about online learning. Be willing to embrace it. And yes, of course, there will be the difficulties, right? As we saw earlier, you will get internet connection problems. Sometimes you can't log on. We have all that problems in Singapore as well. Sometimes we get an outage here and there. Then we have to reschedule classes. But for what it's worth, I think it's still worth that effort that we make to be able to get our learning to continue during these unprecedented times. So how do we prepare to learn as students, right? So I think the first thing that we must identify is that when it comes to online learning, it is not all the same thing. So within online learning, we have asynchronous learning and we have synchronous learning. And what's that difference, right? So the first thing is asynchronous learning is learning that is on your own schedule. So this should be done way before your live learning, before the synchronous learning session. And this is what you can do before coming to class or before attending your classes online, right? So you can, go through your learning management system, looking at all the materials that are presented to you, right? Reading our textbooks, looking up websites, videos, whatever you can do first, preparing to learn, and then coming to class and then actually engaging in that learning. So that's what we call asynchronous learning. And asynchronous learning, remember, happens on schedule. The other thing is, so the other way when you're learning live now, like for example, now this is what we call synchronous learning. It's live learning online on Zoom, on a Zoom platform. And over here, we start applying what we're learning. We start discussing, similar to what we have for face-to-face lectures. So understand the differences between the two. So when it comes to preparing to learn, again, research has found that students who actually were more active in participating in discussion boards in your learning management system were a lot more successful in their learning. So that is one tip. So if you want to be successful in your learning, the first thing you must do is to make sure you are active on discussion board postings. So when people ask questions, or you ask questions, be ready to answer some questions and likewise as well. Another thing that you can do as a student, and this is something that I encourage all my students to do, is to create a learning community. And that means not just relying on your lecturers to create that learning community for you, like they would on your learning management system, but you should also take the initiative to build your own digital community for every single module that you take. So for example, in the next module that you're going to enroll for, someone can, put your hand out and say, hey, I'll start a WhatsApp chat group, or I'll start a Telegram chat group for all the students in this module. So I think that would be great, because at the same time, all the students can get together online as well, and you can ask each other questions, right? So this is something that I encourage students to do. Create your own online learning community on whatever platforms that is most accessible for everyone. And of course, when it comes to preparing to learn, we have to remember that the most important thing is to really reach out to your lecturers, ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask, whether it's over synchronous learning or asynchronous learning, right? So it could be live in chat boxes like this, or you could be sending emails to your lecturers as well. So I think what I want to do is to be able to take us through. I think doing an activity is the best, as I said. So I want to take us through this, and I want to assume that we are in this asynchronous learning stage. So now we're actually in a synchronous learning stage because this is live, right? So what I want you to do is imagine I've uploaded this video onto your learning management system, and it talks about the concepts of reinforcement and punishment in psychology. Okay, so let's watch this video.
I hear the twins fighting in their bedroom. How many times have I told them not to fight? Oh, mine!
Mine, Mama gave it to me.
Boy, girl, stop fighting. Boy, you are a boy. You shouldn't play with dolls. And how many times have I told you two to play nicely together? You each get a smack for this.
Oh, is there no audio going on? Because I've actually shared.
We can hear the video.
Can you hear? Oh, okay.
now.
Because someone mentioned that there's no audio. There is, yeah? Okay, I'll resume then.
Yes, there is.
dear, Shauna, I just heard what happened. Did you know that punishment isn't the best way to teach children how to behave well?
Really, Prof. Sai? Why not? I remember being punished by my mom all the time. It didn't do me any harm.
Well, you see, sometimes children misbehave to get your attention. And when you react to their misbehavior, you are unwittingly rewarding them by responding to their bad behavior. And as long as they want your attention, they will misbehave. What you should do instead is to think about how you can reward the children with your attention for good behavior.
The kids are unusually quiet. That's nice. I better leave them be.
Actually, Shauna, now's a good time to pop in the room and see how they are doing and praise them for playing nicely together. It's good to reward good behavior and ignore bad behavior. Remember, you want to reward the behavior that you want to increase. That is called positive reinforcement.
So if I pay attention to their negative behavior, is that called negative reinforcement?
No, actually, that's still considered positive reinforcement because you are increasing bad behavior by rewarding it with your attention. Here, let me try to explain. In positive reinforcement, we increase desired behavior by giving a pleasant stimulus, like giving sweets for being good. Negative reinforcement happens when we increase desired behaviors by removing an unpleasant stimulus, such as not scolding or nagging your child for doing their chores. On the other hand, positive punishment involves decreasing behavior by giving an unpleasant stimulus. It's like what you did just now to stop the children from fighting. While negative punishment involves decreasing behavior by removing a pleasant stimulus, like not letting the children watch TV for being naughty.
So what can I do to get my kids to stop fighting and play well together?
Good question. Let's ask our friends for help.
Okay, so that's an example of a video. For example, let's say you do this in your asynchronous learning. Before you go for class, you know you're going to be talking about reinforcement and punishment during the lesson, right? So you watch this video first. Someone's asking what's the app used. I actually used Beyond to create this video. Yeah. So, for example, you watch this video first, and you see that was my comic alter ego, Prof. Sai. So we're actually teaching concepts using videos like that. So maybe what you can do after that is before attending the synchronous class, you actually do a bit of a recap, right? So what's the difference between reinforcement versus punishment, right? So then you look at, okay, so you look at this table again, and I'll assume that you probably go and read your textbooks and stuff like that, right? To make sure that you understand fully what each concept is, because you can see that it could be confusing to some people at times. Yeah. So what's the next stage after this? So for example, after that we learn. So the question that was posed at the end of the video was, what can Shauna do to get her kids to stop fighting and play well together? So based on your knowledge, we can't do live chats here, so you can't shout out your answer, but maybe you can type out your answer in the chat box, and I'll read out some of the answers. So what are some of the things that she can do? So if you're going to choose a particular reinforcement behavior or punishment behavior, give us more specific example as well. Thank you, Alex. Give them candy. Yeah, if they play well together. Yes, that's a good one. Any more answers we have? Giving stickers, extra snacks. Yes, good. Punishment, removing the bear. Yeah, something that they can both use. They can a toy that they can both play together, right? Positive reinforcement reward. Yeah. Use positive behavior, getting attention, behave nicely. Yes. Give them more attention. Yeah. More positive reinforcement. Sweets, a schedule. Negative punishment, grounding them. Okay. Positive punishment, yes. Gadgets, taking away their gadgets, less screen time. Yes, give them specific tasks. Don't let them watch TV. Give boy a different time. Oh, hug them big time. I like that one. Explain, talk, communicate. Yes. Food to share, yeah. Wow, wonderful answers. Play with them, show them the right way. That's a very nice one. Can use either or, yeah, either kind of positive or negative. Yeah. Give them chocolates, limit playtime. Avoid letting them watch violent materials. Play the piano, you will not wash dishes. Yeah. Explain the importance, yes. Reward, but also explain more. I love these answers that are coming in. So you can see that just from watching a short video like that, most people get the idea, right? And when we ask a question very specific, it'll be easier to answer the questions. Yeah. Or teach them scheduling. Nice. Let's see if you all have more answers coming up. Because we have like 1,000 people, right? So I wanna make sure everyone has a chance to share, right? It's okay for boy to play with dolls. Yes, that's totally it. That's gonna be the next part of the video, actually. Yeah, talk to them, be mindful, reinforce non-aggressive behavior. Yes. Well, it seems like you all know lots about punishment and reinforcement here. That's very good. Yeah. Yes, very good. Thank you. Talk to them, explain to them. Yeah. Discover that boys developing gender. Yes, that's right. Tell them about sharing, teach them about respect. Very good. Even getting to watch an educational movie about bad behaviors. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Yeah. Sharing is caring. Yeah. I like to see how some of you have actually incorporated different elements of reinforcement and punishment as well, which is great. Yeah. And I think a lot of you are, saying that there's this importance to hug, to kiss, to explain, and I love that. I think that's the beauty of a Filipino family. Not so common in a Chinese family in Singapore. Teach them the right way. Let them participate to cook. That sounds like punishment for some of them, but if they are MasterChef Junior wannabes, maybe. If you drink water, I'll give you another water. Okay. Yes. Not use spanking, right? That's right. Agreed. Listen to them. Yeah, some people say, yeah, positive reinforcement is better. That is true. Yeah. Thank you for all your answers. Yeah. Oh, thank you very much. But now, now everyone here is a law student, right? Like some of you are doing your JD, some of you are doing your degree in law, which is great. I love all these hugging things coming in. Yeah, feel free to continue writing your answers if you like. Okay. Limiting gadget time. Okay. So as law students, knowing about reinforcement and punishment from a parenting perspective is very different from a law perspective, correct? So, assuming that I'd be teaching your class in law, this would be the next step that I would do. So, of course, as a webinar, we can't do a breakout session and we can't do group discussions, but let's just imagine that we're going to be able to do that, right? So I'll maybe send you all away for 15 minutes and say, okay, discuss how we can actually use these concepts of reinforcement and punishment and apply it within law in the Philippines and give some specific examples, right? So maybe instead of a breakout session discussion that you would have in a smaller group, maybe you can type out your answers here. So with with any of the reinforcement strategies, perhaps. How can we use a specific example in law that shows that it's positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, positive punishment, or negative punishment? Sentences are shortened. Giving reward. Positive reinforcement is reward for tax invaders. Yeah. Incentives for paying taxes on time. Yeah. Yes, exactly. This is exactly how the criminal justice system works, right? But if we want to be able to explain a little bit more on how these different concepts and to highlight the differences between reinforcement and punishment, it would be nice if we can give some more specific examples, right? Setting fines, penalties, deprivation of liberty, death penalty, imprisonment, yeah. Good conduct time allowance, yeah. Bring them to me. No, don't bring them to me. Parole, yeah, the right to bail, sanctions, yes, very good. Okay. Probation, yeah. Exemptions from tax as positive reinforcement, yes, very good. Transparency, positive. Penalties, yeah, for violating quarantine protocol, yeah. Limit visitation time, very good. Death penalty, community service, yeah. tax deduction, graver punishments, additional time for visiting hours. Yeah. And as you're like typing this out and you're hearing all the different answers that are coming in, make sure you're categorizing them. Is this positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, positive punishment, or negative punishment? Because I do believe in the law, we kind of like use a whole range of these different strategies, right? Yeah. More on negative reinforcement, that is true, right? Yeah. Rescission for breach of contracts, yeah. Discounts, penalty if late, yeah, exactly. Detention, reprimand, restrictions, yeah. Punishments, good conduct time allowance, juvenile justice, community service instead of monetary penalties, yeah. Mediation first. Rehab, yeah, that's a good one. Lead by example, pardons and paroles, community service, punishment, penal clauses and contracts, court mediation prior to trial, yeah. Battered woman syndrome, getting expelled, yeah. More positive reinforcement for children, good point. Yeah. Rehab, yep. State witness protection program, removal of warnings, yeah. Positive reinforcement is being able to ratify certain defective contracts, acquittal, rewards for paying taxes on time, fine for not wearing mask, yeah. You'll have that too in the Philippines, huh? Good conduct time allowance, yeah. Very good. I love these answers coming in. Yeah. I think a lot of times, especially in the context of law, we kind of think of everything as punishment, right? But given this example here, I can see that many of you can distinguish the differences between the different types of reinforcement and the different types of punishment. And I think that's the important point that I wanted to drive across, right? So no matter what you're going to be learning, it's important to really understand and how we can apply it within your learning context. Yeah, that's awesome stuff. Great. Peace, positive reinforcement, yeah. Wearing masks, planting trees, yeah, I like that one. Intervention for young offenders, yeah. Yeah. And I know like some of you are only responding to the panelists, so I'm actually trying to read out majority of them so everyone is everyone can. Oh, thank you very much, Sheila. That's a very nice compliment. So everyone can actually read and understand what the different answers that are coming in. Civil liability, yeah. Physical exercises, yeah. Seminars and rehab, yeah. This is great. Wow, someone's given an example of all four. Yeah, that's very good. Yeah. Very good. This is awesome stuff. Well done, everybody. Well done. Yeah, damages, yeah. Disqualification for convicted government officials, yeah. Community service, yeah. Yeah, it could be either or, that's right. It could be positive reinforcement, it could be positive punishment, but it really depends, right? Michael Jackson dance. Death penalty is a negative punishment? Yep, that's right. But maybe the people who want the conviction to happen might see it as positive punishment, right? Perspective is really important. Yeah. Refund for recycling. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Impeachment. Yeah. We're getting lots and lots of wonderful, singing the national anthem. We're getting lots and lots of wonderful examples. That is really good. Really good. And thank you all for your compliments. Thank you. Tax incentives, yeah. Death penalty is not a negative punishment in Singapore. It's being recorded, right? I'm sure it is. Banished from the country, foreigners act naughty. Yeah, that's what's been happening in Singapore, right? I don't know if you've been reading that. We've been kicking out all the people on worker passes, work permits if they've been breaching the stay home notice and stuff like that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for your answers. I think we've covered quite a number. So I think I'll just proceed as well because I do understand that there are some more exciting presentations coming up as well. Yeah. So thank you very much for your answers. And I'm going to continue to engage you. That was just the video. The next thing I want to ask is, I think Joelle mentioned some of this as well, right? That we all have challenges when we are faced with online learning. And given that we've just experienced a mini experiment of this, right, of a bit of asynchronous learning plus synchronous learning, maybe take the time to think about, what are some challenges that you face with online learning, whether or not it was just in this activity alone, or maybe even before that, when you're actually doing your online classes online. Okay, so what challenges do you face? So if you can type out your answers, that would be great. And what I'll do is I'll type them out here. Okay, what challenges do you face? Internet connectivity. Okay, internet. All right, that's the one. Yeah, your bed. Okay, my bed also calls me sometimes. Short attention. Okay, internet seems to be the big one. Student engagement. Dogs. Okay, I'm going to try and type as fast as I can. Okay. Okay, distractions. Power. The environment. Kids. Okay, I'll put it all under distractions. Yeah. Having to share technology. Yeah. No balance. Karaoke. Okay. Okay, someone mentioned depression. Okay, let's put that down. I'm going to try and summarize what you are writing as you are typing really fast. A test of my skills. Poverty. Conflict. Self. Mental health. Professors. I apologize. My cat is trying to steal my thunder. Neighbors. Access to materials. Noisy pets. Yeah, I have a noisy pet blocking my screen right now with his cone of shame. Limited access to the library. Yeah. What else do we have? Yeah, okay. Lecturers having issues with technology. Cat stealing our thunder like this. Hello. Parents. Time. Anxiety. Noisy neighbors. Noisy chickens. Expenses. Okay, that's another one that we haven't covered. Technical literacy. Yeah. Poor gadgets that we just don't have. Yeah, we have to do chores, multitasking, isolation, parents. This list is very long. Yes, and we can see that. And we can see that there really is a lot of distractions that are available for people out there, right? Really, really a lot. Time management, mental focus. Yep, siblings. Lots and lots being lazy, the bed. Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things is the noisy environment. If you don't have a conducive environment to study, it's very difficult, right? And if you've got distractions like dogs, cats, chickens, neighbors singing karaoke. Thank you. Yes, my cat is very cute. All these different things, right? And yeah, okay, someone's mentioning also about a blurred line between your personal space and work and studying, right? Timed online exams. Parents not being so supportive. Yeah. Wow, wonderful. I'm happy to see that you're sharing. Yeah, Netflix is definitely a distraction. Definitely. I'm still here, don't worry. Yeah. Anxiety is true. Yeah, the anxiety, the depression, Facebook, social media, time management. Yeah, okay. Some people also some students also think that, hey, if things are online, shouldn't my tuition fees be cheaper? But from a lecturer's perspective, I can explain to you this, that actually putting a lot of stuff online takes a lot of work. Like I find that I have to take a lot of time preparing for lessons that are online now. So it's not that I don't think that necessarily like school fees should be cheaper in that sense because everything is online, because you actually put in a lot more work with that. Yeah. Online platforms, more activities. Yeah, some people think that we're at home doing nothing, right? That's a very challenging mindset to shift. So my suggestion to everyone really is that it is difficult. It is really difficult to study online, and of course, technology being the most challenging thing. And I understand in the Philippines, it's not easy to get good internet connection. So try your best, and remember there's both synchronous and asynchronous learning. So with asynchronous learning, even if your internet connection is not so good, right, even if you're poor and you don't have access, you can still go and tap in on someone else's Wi-Fi network, get an open source like in Starbucks and the cafes and stuff like that once that opportunity presents itself, right? But I think one of the things that I would like to share and end off with this, your profs overworking your students, is to share with you some strategies that you can use as a student to be able to optimize your online learning a lot better, right? So just bear in mind that yes, we know that like infrastructure wise with technology, it's difficult. It is really difficult. But remember that there's asynchronous learning, there's synchronous learning. So even let's say the internet is not good for you today, Wi-Fi is not good for you today, if you have eye strain, you can always take a break and in between because it's so flexible, you can mix it up with your asynchronous and synchronous learning. Yeah. So some other strategies that you can do, right, is to firstly plan your asynchronous learning tasks, have more distinct boundaries for studying. So like some of you were mentioning, the bed, the Netflix, your home is just not very conducive environment, but try to have a distinctive boundary. Yeah. Stay active as much as you can, even within a confined situation. And I think one thing that we must remember also is to practice self-care, especially in times like this. Everyone is feeling the challenge. Everyone's really feeling the challenge everywhere around the world, right? It's not just something that's isolated to one country. We're all feeling it. So I think the more we can practice self-care and remind ourselves about the importance of looking after ourselves, I think that's much better, right? Okay. And then, of course, build your online community. As I was mentioning just now, study together, play together. I will give you some examples in a while. Yeah. So some are asking, how can we do this? Another thing is to help others, pay it forward. And the last strategy is really to be thankful. So let me go a little bit more in depth. Having grit, of course, yes, is still important. So firstly, set daily goals. So when you're planning your asynchronous learning tasks, so things that you can do on your own, remember that you can always set some daily goals for yourselves. Our brains are wired to love these to-do lists. So if you can write down what all the different tasks you want to do every single day, list them down. Okay. In terms of having distinct boundaries and rules. So have a very distinct workplace if you can, even if it's just a corner in your house. I think that's the most important thing. I mean, I live in a small house in Singapore, and this is actually my closet, by the way. So I'm actually setting up my office in a closet, and I think that's fine by me because I think it works. It looks nice, I have to neaten up and stuff like that. But it forces me to declutter as well. And I'm even using a makeshift table because I don't even have a study table in my house. So it's important to I like to do this, and I'd rather keep my portable table at the end of the day because it forces me to, in a way, close my office. And so when I need to stop work, I'll stop work. And when I need to start work, I literally open up my office, So that's what I enjoy. For me, it helps me to keep those boundaries really clear for me. Yeah. So try to keep your work hours to what you want it to be as well. Yeah. So if you're going to be if let's say, for example, like for today, I want to be in school from 10 a.m. till 6 p.m., then make sure you make it clear that 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. is solely your school time and not get influenced by Netflix and social media and all the other different things, right? Keep that till after 6 p.m. Yeah. Another thing also is to stay active. I know it's very tempting to just sit at home all day and do nothing, right? But make sure we stay active. There are lots of free online videos that you can watch, or yoga and stuff like that. Keep moving, keep stretching, and if you can, just take a short walk around the neighborhood. And there are lots of links also that you can look at in terms of how you can be active. Practice self-care. So someone was asking, how can I practice self-care? Yeah, gardening in between is good too. Push-ups, yeah, high intensity interval training, yeah, and so that was being yoga is definitely good. Okay, let's move. Everyone's very excited about the staying active. Let's talk about practice self-care. How can we be good to ourselves, right? Oh, what's happening? Okay, how can we be good to us? Remembering that, I think for a lot of us, especially when we are studying, right, we tend to set very high expectations on ourselves, and we say like, oh, I need to perfect this and I need to perfect that. And if I meet students who tell me things like, if I'm going to be reading a textbook chapter, I want to make sure I understand every single word in it. And we have such high levels of perfectionism and expectations that we have to understand that perfectionism really honestly is a myth, right? We strive our very best to reach a level of perfection as much as possible, but sometimes it is impossible to understand every single word in a textbook, every single clause in a law contract and stuff like that. It's important to say, to understand that I don't need to be perfect and know this 100%, right? So be good and kind to yourself in that sense, to lower your expectations a little bit and say that as long as I understand the main gist of it, that's the most important thing. And the point also is something that I mentioned earlier about building this online community. Do not wait, be a little bit more proactive about this. Okay, take it into your own hands to say that, be the leader in your class and step up and say, I'm gonna organize something, whether it's a Telegram chat group or WhatsApp chat group, so that we can all discuss. Right. So other things that you can do also, other activities outside other than studying would be, using the house party app. Yeah, there's also Kahoot, watching Netflix party, right, with your family and friends, even karaoke apps that you could use, or just YouTube. Like, I know a lot of people in the Philippines love to just play a YouTube video on karaoke and then just sing along, right? I do that myself. That's my Filipino blood, I guess. Right. So make sure you build that online community and take your trivia night's a good one. Take this into your own hands and not wait for someone else to provide and say that, okay, this is your community, so stay in your community and practice, right? Someone can always take the initiative to do this. Work hard and play hard together. Another point also is to help other people, to pay it forward. Like I said, this is a really truly unprecedented circumstances that's happening all around the world, right? And one of the things that we can do, yes, we feel sad, we feel depressed, we feel anxious, but if you are in a position to be able to help other people, whether it's to volunteer your services, to donate money, to donate services, to donate goods, do that. It was honestly a very depressing time for all of us. And I mean, personally for me, I'm also struggling quite a fair bit, in all truth, right? Because our classes are late at night, so I work really long, crazy hours in the day. Like, it could be anything from like 9 a.m. till 11 p.m. In the whole day. And sometimes I'm also expected to work over the weekends with events and stuff. And I thought I was going to go out of my mind. So I started thinking, okay, I'm going to volunteer. And I thought about, okay, maybe I'll go be a delivery driver, since although I can't go anywhere, right? And since my car is just sitting here, I might as well, maybe be a Grab driver or something, But then I decided, then there was a call actually to say that, hey, does anyone want to volunteer pro bono counseling services for anyone who's feeling affected by this COVID situation. So this was from our Singapore Psychological Society. So I decided, hey, maybe that's my calling. I volunteered and I started getting so many calls and emails every day, and I dropped the idea about being a delivery driver. And it really does help me as well in that sense, by helping other people and seeing how other people just benefit from listening to you, providing a different perspective. That helps me to keep sane as a person, and it helps other people as well. So really, paying it forward is really a good strategy to have. And you don't need to be rich to be able to volunteer. You can just volunteer your services as well. Yeah. And the last point really is about being thankful, to practice gratitude. So again, during very challenging times like this, it's important to, at the end of the day, think about what are 3 things that you are most grateful for, 3 things that you appreciate the most about yourself, and maybe 3 things that you are thankful for at this present moment. Yeah, so I know, like, there's a bit of a side chat going on in the chat group about tuition fees and stuff like that, and that is truly nothing that I can influence, right? And I'm sure other people can address that. But I think, again, let's be mindful and be present, right? To be able to think of why we can be thankful, right? And people talk about, we still have, the most important thing is we're still alive. right? We have the family around us, we have work, we still have a job, we still have our studies, and a lot of things that's going on in our lives that we can be very thankful for. And first of all, many people still have classes. Some people don't even have the opportunity to continue studying. Imagine that happened to you, and your dream is to be a lawyer, and someone tells you, no, you can't be a lawyer anymore because we're closing down all schools. I mean, that doesn't make sense, right? So at least be thankful and be able to practice gratitude that, hey, at least I still have this opportunity to pursue my dreams. Yeah. So those are the 7 tips that I like to share with all of you. I'll take any questions now, or do we wait for questions for later, Leah?
We can have the Q&A later after
Okay.
everybody has spoken. Okay,
right.
so thank you very much,
Thank you.
Dr. Emily. That was very interesting and engaging. I love how you handled your talk. It was just not just a one-way thing, but everybody got involved, and even a lot of our law professors around are saying that, oh, I already have a reference model on how I will do my own online classes. Okay, so
Thank you
very much. But we'll see you again later, okay, for
Yes.
our Q&A.
I'll hang around.
Next
Thank you.
up, of course, we have, next up, of course, we will have the own sharing of our Filipino school counselor on student wellness during this time of online learning. Okay, so I'd like to welcome Mr. Emmanuel Santos.
Right. Good morning, everyone. So at this point, I ask everyone to first stand up. It's been more than an hour already that we've been probably seated joining this webinar. Although it's very enjoyable, we sometimes forget to do some stretching. So I request everyone to stand for a few seconds to do simple neck, shoulder, and arm stretching. So sort of a stretch break before we continue with our webinar. All right. Okay, so while doing that, let me introduce myself. So my name is Emmanuel Santos. I'm a registered guidance counselor and a licensed professional teacher. And my experience basically is with secondary and tertiary level of education here in the Philippines for more than a decade already. And then now I'm with Thames International, working as a school counselor and the head of student affairs. And as like what Sir Joel Santos said earlier, we've been doing blended and online learning since 2018. So we kind of had that jump start already in terms of online learning. So today I'll be sharing with you some of our best practices that you may want to make use of as you embark on this new journey, new chapter of your journey as law students. All right, so for this part of the webinar, we'll be going through very quickly on the challenges in the online learning and the critical factors and best practices in online learning, as well as some practical tips from experienced online learners. All right, so for first timers in the online learning environment, so I saw the profile of the attendees earlier when you were greeting everybody as you enter. Some of you are first year students, some are second year, third year, fourth year. So it's okay, whatever year level you're on, you're all first timers in this online learning environment, and probably you have these questions, no? How will it be different from on-campus learning? Questions about interaction, questions about distractions. Earlier in the activity that you had with Dr. Ortega, you mentioned about distractions with noise, with pets, with kids. So all those are very valid concerns as we embark into this online learning environment. So these questions are actually not different from the earlier findings about online learning. So online learning actually has been present even before the turn of the century, even before this pandemic happened. So such findings are still very much applicable because of the lack of interaction, lack of motivation, problems with technology, and then problems with the content being delivered from an on-campus environment into an online environment. So these are very valid concerns. So your burning questions probably might also be similar to what has been found years back. So to address the said challenges, these are the 3 critical factors that need to be properly dealt with to ensure the success of the online learning process. It should not be just focused on the online learner. It should not be focused just on just the online teacher or just the environment. It should be a good integration of all three to make the online learning process successful. So
Sorry,
let's.
Eman, do you want to do a full screen? I don't
Oh,
think you're
sorry.
on full screen.
Okay. Am I on full screen now?
Nope.
Okay, wait. All right. How about now?
Not on mine. Check with Sheila.
All right. There?
You're not on full screen, M1, but it's big enough. I think you can continue.
All right. Okay, so first, let's look into the first critical factor of online teaching. So when we say about online teaching, the focus is not just on the person or the teacher, but basically on the entire process. So this model that I'm sharing with you now is the TPAC model. So this promotes the meaningful integration of the teacher's skills in terms of content knowledge, in terms of pedagogical knowledge of how to deliver the contents. And lastly, the very important skill right now is the technological knowledge, because the content knowledge and the skills of the teachers on how to deliver it will all be useless if there's no technological knowledge. So practically speaking, the best practices for online teaching involve developing certain abilities among the teachers. First is to make sure that the communication is very, very effective in terms of the contents, in terms of the expectations, the processes of the subject, the course, and how the synchronous and asynchronous classes will be held. And in terms of monitoring student progress will all be very critical. And at the same time, giving timely feedback will also be very, very important, both in the synchronous and the asynchronous classes, because that's going to be the answer to the question of lack of interaction in an online learning environment. The next one will be how to manage technology. So the teachers will always have to be the first to know how to properly use the technology in terms of the online tools, systems, and softwares, and in terms of communicating directly with the students. So the different modes available via email, via discussion forum, via live sessions, it will all be very critical in terms of making sure that the student and teacher communication are effective. And then lastly is to make sure that the content are delivered and assessed properly. So the assessment practices should be clear. So usually pre-orientation or pre-term orientations will be held between the teacher and the student so that everything is clear even before they start the term. And then the deadlines and requirements should also be properly communicated to everyone. And then also the new forms of or methods of discussion. So just like what Dr. Teg different ways of delivering a new content. All right, so the good news is, all right, the good news is your teachers, your law professors have undergone first two phases. So did my screen stop?
It's loading, Eman. You can
All
try
right.
F11 for full screen.
All right. Oh, wait. Anyway, this slide doesn't work. Anyway, so the good news is your teachers were able to go through a series of trainings already. So the phase one and phase two were already done. So even the FEMS teachers already underwent Singapore training before we embark on our full online learning environment. So in that way, the teachers are already trained in terms of technical, in terms of content, and in terms of pedagogical knowledge. Okay, with that, we move on to the next part, which is the online learning. So again, the focus is not just on the student itself, but basically on the entire process. So prior to the current COVID-19 pandemic, flexibility was usually the main purpose of learners to enroll in online learning. Although now, it's more of being the best available alternative if technology is not a problem. But then and now factors like work obligations, family commitments, and levels of motivation still play very, very critical roles. So in this time of COVID, very important thing to do is to really be proactive as a learner, to really own your education, to own your learning, to actively engage with both your lecturers, your instructors, with the content during asynchronous sessions, and with your co-learners. So in law school or even in any other postgraduate studies, it's really, really very important to have that interaction with your fellow learners and not just with your instructors. So it really takes a lot from the learner to be actively engaged and to self-regulate learning, which are actually found in recent studies to be highly associated with better academic achievement. So, so far, the best practices that we have for online learners is really to have the proper mindset. Earlier, it was mentioned to have that growth mindset. So it really all boils down to reminding yourself, why are you here? Why are you taking law? Where do you want to be after this? So your love and passion for the course will really play a very important role in your journey here as an online learner. So with that proper mindset, you will be able to drive yourself to reach out, to engage with your instructors and your classmates, even when you're feeling tired already or feeling distracted, you will still find that drive within you. All right, so lastly, we proceed to the online environment, which is usually the most neglected part of the factors, no? So there are actually 4 pillars to supporting online student success. So this is the academic support, technology support, health and well-being, and sense of community. So we'll be going through each one. Wait, I'll reshare again just to make sure that it works well. All right, so basically first is the academic support. Wait, I'm not sure why it's not loading, sorry. Okay, basically wait, let me share again. All right. Okay, so it's still loading. All right, so basically the academic support. So the online materials, both resources, both material and human, should be properly trained in terms of the academic support. And then we move on to the next. I'm just having some problems with my slides. So it's still loading. All right, so the next one will be the technology support. So in TEMS, we came up with our tech support team composed of academic personnel and students who were trained to assist their fellow students in terms of the technology that's needed. So at the start of the term, we assembled students who will be acting as tech support for their fellow students, so that if anyone experiences any technical difficulties, just like what I'm experiencing right now, someone will be able to provide the help and the support needed to get everyone back on track. Okay, so let me stop sharing first. All right, I don't know why my slides won't share. Miss Sheila, can you try sharing it from your screen, please? Maybe it will work through you.
Okay, sige.
All right,
Forward.
thanks. Okay, so now let's move on into the next part, which is the health and well-being. So Dr. Ortega shared with us a lot about practicing self-health care. And then right now, what we do is to really promote positive mental health. So here in THEMS, what we usually do is to pivot all our student activities. So the student wellness activities from the on-campus program were all pivoted into the online platform. So right now, what we do is we hold online counseling through video calls, through emails, and then we also have family wellness webinars for students and for parents. And we also hold Wellness Wednesday sessions wherein students are given a safe space where they can share about their experiences, hang out with their peers. And we also have the online workouts. So some of you may find it difficult to work out on your own. So with the online workout, our students are really pushed to engage in online workout sessions with their peers at the comforts of their home. And then lastly is that sense of belongingness and community, which is usually neglected in the online learning environment. So it's really very important to keep that open dialogue among students and the teachers, and the teachers among themselves and the students among themselves. So it's really important, for example, for your class to come up with, for example, a group chat wherein you can easily engage with one another outside the class or even during class, so that you can also easily schedule group study sessions or just hangouts or social drinking nights or whatnot, just to keep you company in as you go into your law school journey. So it's really very important to have that session. So back in TEMS, what we do, we actually have weekly art showcase sessions for our students. We also have quarantine ender activities wherein they can perform in front of their classmates, of their schoolmates. And in that case, they feel that kind of sense of belongingness and community as well. All right, so to cap it all off, basically the teacher, the learner, and the environment all play a very critical roles in the success of an online learning environment. So it's not going to be just the school's concern. It's not just going to be your concern as a student. The meaningful integration of all these three factors will really play a critical role to have a successful online learning environment. So if you think that in any aspect of your journey as a law student, for example, there's something missing out in terms of your sense of community or belongingness, or in terms of how your teachers are able to run your classes, feel free to send them feedback, because you have to understand that even your schools, even your teachers are all first timers in this kind of environment. So it's very important to keep that communication channels among students and the school open. So you really have to voice out your concerns, and then the schools will really be very open to your feedback, and they would appreciate it more than anything. All right, so with that, I end my presentation for today, but on Saturday, I'll be seeing you again more up to talk about forming online learning habits. Okay, so at this point, I'll be introducing to you two of our students. One is currently graduating by this year with an entrepreneurship program, Anela, and then the next one will be Paulo, who's undergoing our postgraduate program. Anela, can you turn on your video now, please?
Okay, so where is Anila? Is she around? Or again, she has problems with her internet connection?
Anela. Or probably we can continue with Paulo first. Paulo?
Okay, sige. So I'll stop sharing my screen, and then I think Paolo will have his own slides.
Actually, it's also in my slides, Ms. Sheila. So and just move forward.
But is he here?
Yes, I'm
Is
here.
Paolo?
Yes,
Okay, so
I'll
Paolo.
just share my. Okay, do I go ahead?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Can you
Okay,
please
I
share
will.
your video?
Yes, I will. Hi, everyone. Good morning. And I can't see you because I hope you can all see my screen. I'm Paolo, and I'm currently a student at Fames International for the Innovation and Creative Entrepreneurship Program. And wait, what happened? Okay. This is what I do. I am currently the president and co-founder of Comiket. We are an NGO that holds uh, art markets, comics and art markets around the country. And we've been doing it for the past 6 years. And we've grown to be the biggest local comics and art market in the Philippines. And that's my NGO. And what I really do that pays the bills is I'm a writer, director, and producer of Blue Bullet Productions. So I've done 4 indie films. One of them was my last one was for the 2016 Cine Filipino Film Festival, which is the film's title is called Buhay Habang Buhay with Isa Calzado, and you can see that on the lower part of the screen. I was nominated as a board of trustee this year for the Book Development Association of the Philippines. So we are a group of publishers that look out for the publishing industry. And during the pandemic, to help keep my business afloat, I joined a business networking referral group called the BNI Tagig. And we help, it's a group of different business owners and business managers who refer clients to each other to help keep us afloat. And on top of this, I'm also a pranic healer and I'm a student at the Kabbalah Center of the Philippines. So my undergraduate is comparative literature in UP. And I took up my master's in Philippine Studies, or in the Filipino department, it's called Araling Panlipunan. And these two schools are more for spiritual studies. So it's not religious, it's more spiritual. And and to add to this, I'm also a student at Thames International, which I mentioned. So that this one is to help. I'm a creative by trade, so I'm not business trained. So this is where, as one of my weaknesses, I wanted to strengthen and learn to strengthen. So in UP kasi hindi tinuturo para maging business owner eh, 'di ba? So most of my courses that I took, it was really we were really trained to be workers. So this is the day and age where we are all training to be entrepreneurs. Who do I work with? In Comiket, I work with comics creators, graphic artists, and illustrators. With Blue Bullet Productions, I work with production professionals, advertising executives, and TV executives. With Book Development Association of the Philippines, I work with publishers, authors, and a couple of government agencies like the National Book Development Board. With BNI Taguig All Stars, it's all different business owners from different categories. And with Pranic Healing and Kabbalah Center, I made friends with energy healers and spiritual practitioners. And in Thames, specifically creative entrepreneurs and members of the academy. So I know that there's a lot of worries and a lot of doubts and a lot of fears about entering school this semester. And when I was studying at Thames, because we just finished this month, and I had my thesis presentation the other day, we were hit in the middle, like in the third month. Our classes started on January, and by the lockdown in March, that was our first online class. And in our course, we're trained to innovate and adapt in short pivot. So tinuturo pa lang siya, we had to actually practice it and we had to do it. We had to innovate or else we will die. So ganun ka apparent yung need. And my schedule with all of the things that I do, it's really a full schedule that I just keep my Sundays to myself as much as possible. I don't book meetings or schedule any workloads on Sundays. So I have one day to rest. And a day in my life would be I would wake up at 7. I would do read my books in the morning. I'd leave my house at around 8:30 and drive, and I would pick up my team. So we're a team of three, and one way to keep my team safe from the pandemic is to minimize any contact. So I would pick one of my team members in Makati and the others in Mandaluyong, and our office is in Poblacion, Makati. So from 10 to 7, I have an average of 5 meetings per day from the different groups. And by 7 p.m. I do a quick meditation. It's just a 20-minute meditation to keep my mental and emotional and physical health. And I drive home at 8, and I go home and at 9. I arrive home at 9, and I continue whatever work that gets left behind, and I sleep at around 1. So if you notice, it's with all of the things that I've been doing, and with all of the people that I work with, it's funneled in um, in a monthly calendar and in a daily calendar. So the schedule is one of the key takeaways as well. The lessons that I learned throughout this lockdown is that it's to go within. The first thing I learned was to go within, meaning to say, we are physically asked to be still. So because we're not allowed to leave our houses, so this is during the beginning, the first month of the lockdown. So you are alone with your thoughts and your emotions, and it was time to start assessing, what do I have to learn from this situation? What is this lockdown? What is this pandemic teaching me? Teaching me, my family, my community, my nation. What is it teaching me? And since we are locked within the four walls of our homes, what there's nothing else to do but to uh, reflect and to see what is there to improve within myself, within my family, within my home. What can I improve within myself? During the lockdown, we were forced to appreciate the essentials and let go of the excesses. So there was no more bars, no more drinking out, going to trips abroad or beach trips in Zambales. It was always about just appreciating the family, home cooked meals, and focusing on some focused on plants, some focused on food. Uh, it gave us an opportunity to look at what is truly important to us. And all of the old habits that no longer serve us had to be let go. And we had to learn to adapt and innovate or get left behind. Okay, especially for when the lockdown lifted. And if we didn't follow the protocols, we would have to close our businesses. If we didn't follow the safety protocols, we had the chances of getting sick. So what did this teach me as well? It also taught me that I can only control myself, and everything else that is uncontrollable, I had to let go. So I'm sure that throughout the pandemic as well, there are so many frustrations, so many disappointments, and so many infuriating things that we are not in control of. And what you can, what to give a sense of control, there are things that you can take control of, and that is your space, your time, your actions, your emotions, and your thoughts. So if you have a room and the way that it's organized, one suggestion is you could have one particular corner in the room that's meant for study, so that the energy of that space is just for study, and then let one part of your room be for rest. So what I did with my schedule is that when I would go home, I wouldn't bring the a certain type of work home. Okay, so if everything that was done in the office stayed in the office, but the other advocacy works, that's the one that I would do at home. So it's always segregate and compartmentalize, and that's the best way to manage space and time. Creating a schedule is also helpful, and it gives a sense of a new routine for you to follow, so that when the uncontrollable things happen outside, we still have something that we can make some sense of. And instead of enforcing or forcing that this is how you want to create your routine, see how things fit together rather than against each other. And if you're unable to finish the workload, especially for the goal getters, the goal driven, the achievement chasers, also learn to be kind to yourself and to others. But things that need to be done now, do it now, because everything is temporary. So, like the pandemic came last March, and it'll also go away in time. So scientific research, if you have been doing your research about the different um, creators of vaccines, they say it takes a year to produce a vaccine. So if they started studying by March, then it takes 6 months to do initial testings, and another 6 months to test the side effects. So at least you know that there is a timeline to this as well. The earliest or the fastest might be in September 2020, but it's estimated to be out by the first quarter of 2021. Now, again, I'm not a manghuhula, but just know that this is temporary. So there is an end to all this, and all of the changes that we experience, change is always painful. But the more that we resist, the more that we don't adapt and innovate, the more painful it will be. Okay. Now, as a energy healer, I've also been able to study astrology. It's not the horoscope or the feng shui that we see popularly on the streets, but it's to see also the sign of the universe. Okay, and what I learned last year was that this period, especially by this whole pandemic during the March, is we're going through what we're called the Saturn Pluto conjunction. It's also known as the Messiah conjunction. So we've been going through three major eclipses. The first one was December, and then we had one in June, and then another one in November. Sorry, in December 21. And it is one of the most powerful changes. And during this period, when my astrology teacher discussed this, she mentioned that things will change, boundaries will change, currency will change, and Saturn is like a policeman, so he will police. Pluto is all the secrets will be revealed. But what is happening this time is that the Messiah conjunction isn't that we are looking for a savior. No, the Messiah conjunction is a call for us to be our own leaders. So if you've noticed also during the pandemic, there are people who really went out of themselves and started to share. You see businesses, food restaurants started to donate their kitchens and started to give out food for the frontliners. Or we had fashion designers that are using, or clothing companies that are using their machines and their employees to create face masks. Okay, when it became less about what we will get and more about how to take care of our community, that is the Messiah conjunction at work. uh, and of course, those who are currently in power or are current leaders who abuse their power. All of the abusive leaders or abusive leaders in power, that power will be sooner or later taken away because it will reveal those who abuse power. So that is the astrological reading for 2020, and it's supposed to be the seed year for the next 30 years. So this is temporary. This pandemic is temporary, but the effects on it in our world, in our communities, in our nation, is going to be longer. So one way to also activate the leader within is also to be driven by purpose and not by fear. So instead of panicking about what the virus is, where it came from, how it came to be, how it's spreading, it's also an opportunity to learn how to deal with it and how to respond to it properly rather than respond with fear. So when you respond with the right consciousness and with the right information and the right wisdom, you can now make a more responsible uh, the ability to respond and to be responsible for your actions is the first step to activating the leader within. And the whole lesson of this whole Saturn Pluto conjunction is we have to be the leaders we deserve. So the key takeaways that I'd like to share is, of course, be the leaders we deserve, especially as students. I'm sure you will remember this moment, and once you are lawyers and you have the ability to make a difference, to enforce the rule of law and not the abuse of the rule of law, uh, that is the type of leaders we deserve. People who are proactive, accountable, responsible, effective, and nurturing. Be driven by a higher purpose. If you're asking what is a higher purpose, it's usually the purpose of your purpose. It's not just your own personal purpose of why we do things or of our why, but it's the why of our why. It's a bigger or a higher purpose. And we cannot survive this pandemic alone. So build your community, especially that you're in a school. What uh, what I greatly appreciated in my classes in FAMES is that it was a community. Everybody was helping each other. Everybody was encouraging each other. And if we had some misgivings, we were very forgiving and very understanding because these are unprecedented times. It is something that we have never gone through before. So that attitude and that consciousness, that spirit, that sense of community helped every member of our class push through. So always think about the commonwealth or the common good. In helping others, we help ourselves. And every peso you spend is your vote to keep a business, a community, a family alive. So spend it locally. And lastly, consciousness is everything. That's all I have to share, and I hope I was able to help, especially those who are uh, still living in fear.
Thank you very much, Paolo. That was very inspiring. Okay, now we come to our question and answer portion. We're running a bit late, but then the presentations are very interesting. I'd like to ask Joel Santos, Dr. Emily Ortega to please open their videos for Q&A. We have questions in the boxes. Okay, so let me read the questions. Some are comments. Dr. Emily Ortega, firstly, thank you for in the interactive session. I've learned so much. Any advice on how to stay focused on our goals despite the anxiety of COVID-19? Sometimes the thought of an uncertain future discourages us and makes me question the future. Do we still continue studying when there's so much uncertainty? Nonetheless, I have faith that everything will be better soon. Thank you. Appreciate your thoughts. Okay, Dr. Emily?
Definitely. I think the key here is to try to retain as much normal behaviors as much as you can. We can't predict what's going on, what's going to happen in the future, right? But the most important thing is to keep life going as per normal as much as we can. Remember your passions of why you wanted to learn, and just keep going.
Okay, thank you. Another question, I think this is also for you or Eman. What are your advice to students that lack self-confidence because they started from a different field and just shifted to legal education? Also, maybe Paolo can answer this because he's from the creatives and going to business.
All right, my answer to that is you gotta start somewhere, right? So nobody started and woke up one morning and became an expert in something, right? So just having that growth mindset. So everybody's doing a lot of changes, going through several changes this time. So having that mindset, that positive growth mindset, that hey, I can start from here now. So given this crisis, it can be actually an opportunity for me to be someone I really wanted to be back then. So just having that growth mindset.
Okay, what about Pau? From creatives to business, how do you develop the self-confidence?
You just do it, and again, what helps me is that it's whenever I talk about Comiket or do things for Comiket, I always say that it's not really for me. It's always for a higher purpose. It's always that I meant to do this. And I learned also throughout, maybe because my mindset has always been that I'm an eternal student, because be in my exennial years of existence, life is all about learning lessons, and one of our life purposes is to evolve. So don't judge your life story. Don't judge your path, because you might not see. It's like you're looking at it in a microscope, but there is a bigger. Your life is a bigger design than this moment. So don't judge your path. Everything might not make sense right now, but it will make sense sooner or later. Siguro you're just a little impatient. Just let it unfold and enjoy the journey.
Okay, so another question from Bless Aplaska. Is noise canceling than other headsets? I think this is a very technical question. Uh, yeah, I think that's better. Canceling noise canceling headset. Yes. Um, Another question from Apple Joy Tolentino for Dr. Emily. Uh, Study habits. Uh, my question is, can you share to us any of your personal study tips or routine that we could follow or use as a guide so that we could bring back our confidence in engaging to online lectures?
So of course, the first thing is to remind yourself that this online learning, this is the new way of learning. Really, once you have that in mind, then I think you're a little bit more confident that this can work. And since everyone is doing it, it can work. The other thing also is to really do a lot of your asynchronous learning as much as you can offline, and engage in your online communities to ask questions amongst each other, help each other out with social support. I think that really helps you to learn as well.
Yeah, I think we also have a related question on self-motivation and how to minimize excessive rest time resulting to lower productivity.
This
The
is where
bed.
this is where we need to put some timelines on ourselves, right? To say that I need to get this done by today, I need to get this done by tomorrow. This added pressure will force us to stop lying down and watching TV and doing all the other distractions, because I think, as you all have all mentioned, there's just so many distractions. Anything in the environment around you can distract you, even yourself, right? So you have to stay focused, by making sure that you give yourself some deadlines of this is what I need to do. Yeah.
Okay, so another question from Jeter Corpus. In the light of the need to be open to new concepts of learning, as such as what has been discussed, can we also expect that our law professors would adapt by shifting from the practice of mainly using the Socratic method in class? Sir Joel, you want to answer?
See, the Socratic method is perfect. It's actually is synergistic to online learning, because Socratic the so don't it's not a replacement. It is actually the online technologies and edutech and online learning tools are actually going to enhance the Socratic method. You're just moving from A face-to-face physical environment to an online environment. So actually, this is actually even more exciting for more professors. Now they'll have more tools for you. And if sometimes you found it challenging, the tools will actually make it more interesting and fun. So the challenge will always be there because that's important to learning, but there are going to be a lot of online tools that's going to support the delivery of the classic method. And your lecturers are all learning that as they go through the trainings of LEB and PAL.
So, Ma'am Sheila.
Yes, Dean Joanne. Good afternoon na.
Hi, good afternoon. May I also respond to that question because right now it really is not just the students who are being prepared for online learning. PALS and LEB had been doing a lot of preparations also for our faculty on online teaching.
Okay, so at least we're assured that our law professors are also upskilling themselves and learning all this new stuff from training. Okay, we have a lot of other questions. Maybe one last for Dr. Emily. I have severe camera anxiety from Irene Tutaan. Do you have advice for me?
That's a very interesting question. And I think the first thing is to acknowledge that I think many people have camera anxiety. They're a little bit shy to go online. Remember that especially in this this day and age when there's a lot of social distancing that's happening, right? That showing your showing your camera helps to maintain that face-to-face interaction as a substitute. So one way that you can avoid it really is to get used to it. Turn on your webcam when you're not having presentations as a start, so that you get used to seeing yourself on camera. And then in this kind of situations, if you want to, don't look at the camera, look at something else maybe. So those are my suggestions.
Okay, thank you very much. Since we're really going over time, I think it's now time to wrap up. The other questions can be answered on Saturday, August 1. We have a second webinar for law students. So please come back and let's answer more questions there. We will have a discussion on the actual online learning components and techniques and forming study habits, etc., etc. So maybe just 10 seconds goodbye from each of our speakers, starting from Joel. 10 seconds.
Goodbye. 10 seconds. Guys, you're gonna enjoy your online journey. We're in this thing together. So and we're here. On our side, we're here to share. So good luck and enjoy the ride.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Emily.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. I really enjoyed listening to all of you. Thank you for staying so engaged throughout. And I wish you all the best in your online learning journey. Was that 10 seconds?
Okay, thank you very much too. Yes. Sir Eman Santos.
All right, so just keep an open mindset into the online learning environment. And then whenever you're tired or distracted or confused, just remember why are you here and where you want to be.
Yeah, thank you. I like the stretching exercise kanina. And Paolo.
Okay, guys, just be driven by a higher purpose. Be the leaders we deserve. Build your community. Build and nurture your community. And consciousness is everything.
Wow, thank you for your messages. So everybody, we hope to see you on Saturday, August 1, still at 10 a.m. And we will be discussing more things for you. Okay, so for now, thank you very much, everyone.